According to the ASPCA, about 1.5 million animals are killed every year in shelters due to lack of resources. Yet even though they spend all of their extra money on ads asking for more support and more donators, when people euthanize animals, it's not because they want to kill the animals, but because they're forced to. They sometimes don't have enough food or space to house all the animals. Animal shelters require time, energy, and most importantly, money to be able to save pets.
Animal shelters are forced to euthanize animals when they lack resources to take care of the animals. In order to keep saving animals' lives, we need help from people of the community, no matter if they're a part of the online community or in-person community. Any pet requires a lot of time, money, and resources, which not all shelters or pet parents have, which leads to death of innocent pets. According to Kienzler, the author of the Dog Encyclopedia, a lot of pet owners don't understand what goes into getting a dog. You have to train, play, take care of your dog, take him to the vet, pay for all of your dog's needs, etc. All as well as make sure that a dog fits your lifestyle. Do your homework about a dog. Do you work all day, travel a lot, have enough energy to play after a hard day of work? If not, then a dog is not the best pet for you. Getting a dog, or any pet for that matter, is a big commitment and responsibility that you have to be ready for. One of the main reasons that pets end up in shelters is that their owners weren't prepared for the amount of stress and work that goes into having any pet. Shelters and rescues are not prepared to take care of a large number of pets. The pets they have need resources and usually don't have enough to spare for more. Because of inexperienced and uneducated pet owners, millions of pets around the country have to pay for what their owners didn't do for them. Shelters need people to adopt, give resources, and help their pets try to get rescued and not have more people giving their pets to them. In 1997, roughly 64% of the total number of animals that entered the shelters were euthanized. Approximately 2.7 million animals in just these 1,000 shelters. These animals may have been euthanized due to overcrowding, but may also have been sick, aggressive, injured, or suffering from something else. American Humane. If we were able to fund animal shelters better, they could afford to take better care of their animals, which would lead to less of them being killed. Overcrowding and violence are fixable problems with more money, and if money leads to animals being saved from pity killing, then it seems like they're like a no-brainer that we should donate animals to animal shelters more often. According to ASPCA, there are about 6.5 million pets that enter shelters in the United States every year. Approximately 3.3 million of those animals are dogs and 3.2 million are cats. There are about animal shelters are limited on how many animals they can rescue. Not even half of animals that end up in shelters are adopted each year. That is horrible that some of the animals that go into shelters don't even get a loving family to call their own. There are so many animals that go into shelters, but not a lot of them, if all of them, don't get enough resources for pets. Sadly, they end up being euthanized because there was no other option for shelters or rescues.
Funding animal shelters helps them expand their facilities to take in more animals. Shelters need money like any other business. They need money to stay open and do their job. In this case, their job is saving animals off the street and trying their best to get them adopted. Not even half of animals that end up in shelters are adopted each year. Most shelters will take every stray that arrives, but are forced to euthanize some animals when they become too full, according to Watson. Animals are forced to be killed if shelters run out of room. If we donated more money into animal shelters, they would be able to buy/rent larger or more facilities to house more animals, making it so euthanization is much less likely to occur. It is not easy for animal shelters to have a constant supply of money to keep the shelter up and running. The pets' lives are dependent on shelters being open. Not even half of all animals that end up in shelters are adopted each year. Animal shelters and rescues are in a constant struggle to obtain funding to continue their operations. Independent animals that need to receive funding from outside sources in order to remain open. These shelters tend to rely on the goodwill of others to stay in business. Gosselin 2. All animal shelters are important to helping animals, but independent animal shelters need the most help. They get no help from the government, so it is up to the people to help them keep on saving lives. Independent animal shelters are important because they offer support across the country to other animal shelters. The key to helping these animals is working together, supporting each other, and staying focused.
Animal shelters provide jobs for those who may need them, but if they cannot pay for all their employees, they are forced to lay off many people. If animal shelters had more funding, they could have the option to pay for more employees, making it so people would feel more inclined to come help instead of just volunteering with no pay. And if there are more employees, that means there's more time to spend with the older and more sickly animals, which would in turn lead to less animals losing their lives. According to State University, most animal shelters are non-profit organizations. This means that they don't have much money to pay their employees, so most salaries are $10,000 or less a year. Employees and volunteers have a lot of responsibilities in shelters, including educating adopters, educating the public, taking care of all the animals. That includes feeding them, giving them water, cleaning their cages, keeping records of which animals are adopted, which are going to be new arrivals, and keeping all of the animals in good health. Volunteers are to animal shelters like wheels are to a car. Without them, all the effort put into from other people / pieces of retended useless, because the only part of the system that's able to get things done. No wonder animal rescues and shelters need so much help. There are so many responsibilities you are faced with working at a shelter. Pets need all the help that they can get. It is great that there are so many people who save these pets' lives, but there are not enough of them. It is so important that we keep these shelters open and running. Volunteers are obviously incredibly nice and selfless people. Even though they get paid so little, they still work every day through grueling shifts and to help save animals. A single shelter can house hundreds of animals, and there usually isn't a lot of money available for hired help. For that reason, volunteers are an essential part of shelter operation. Though they don't get a paycheck, the tail wags and purrs they get in return are simple rewards for most volunteers. Watson. Even though the volunteers are doing this out of their kindness of their own hearts, that does not mean that they do not deserve a pay, and to get paid, the shelters need money, aka funding. If we were able to let animal shelters off to pay more for volunteers, they would attract more help. Donating / funding animal shelters is putting your money into a cause that not only helps animals but helps people as well.
Those who oppose the funding of animal shelters will claim that the funding toward animal shelters may save animals, but that money is being moved away from real humans who need help. Any money to spare should go to homeless shelters or less fortunate people in general. Pets are animals, and they were wild at one point. So why have animal shelters, especially with extra funding? Humans need the extra help way more than pets. In 2019, there were 34 million people in poverty. About 4.2 million fewer than 2018, but that's still so many. Even though that money could go to other animal shelters, that doesn't discount the fact that animals still need our help. If we kept that mentality with everything, then we would only donate to 1 or 2 specific shelters, neglecting the fact that others need our help as well. Animals can help many people in many ways, mentally and physically. Dogs can be trained to do jobs for us, like hunting, protecting, supporting, transporting, and pulling. As well as dogs, cats help many people with mental illnesses like anxiety and stress. Dogs can even remind people to take medications, get around, and calm their owners, which can save lives.
Why do you think it is important to adopt, not shop?
Well, animals in shelters usually need a home a lot more than an animal in just a PetSmart or a breeder facility. Usually the animals that you shop for and you pay thousands of dollars for get top of the line food and top of the line care, and honestly, moving in with a home would provide no difference to their lives. While a shelter is usually, it's run down, it's dirty, and those animals, they need saved.
Have you ever adopted a pet? If so, why did you adopt it?
Yeah, my cat Rosa is adopted. Honestly, it was because it was cheaper. But also, it's more important to adopt than shop. I would much rather get a cat that needs help than a cat that's been pampered its entire life.
Why do you think people should give money, time, and resources to shelters?
Because it's important. It's saving an animal's life. It doesn't matter that people need help. It doesn't matter, and nothing else matters other than the fact that you are helping save animals' lives. You are helping save a life.
What is the most important thing you can do to help a shelter or rescue?
Volunteer, most likely, but donating any amount of money is just as helpful. It helps them get their work done.
How do you think this documentary we are filming will help shelters and rescues?
It'll help whoever sees it feel more inclined to go donate and to go volunteer. If you see this, the first thing that should be on your mind.
Why do you think it is important to adopt, not shop?
Well, animals in shelters usually need a home a lot more than an animal in just a PetSmart or a breeder facility. Usually the animals that you shop for and you pay thousands of dollars for get top of the line food and top of the line care, and honestly, moving in with a home would provide no difference to their lives. While a shelter is usually, it's run down, it's dirty, and those animals, they need saved.
Have you ever adopted a pet? If so, why did you adopt it?
Yeah, my cat Rosa is adopted. Honestly, it was because it was cheaper. But also, it's more important to adopt than shop. I would much rather get a cat that needs help than a cat that's been pampered its entire life.
Why do you think people should give money, time, and resources to shelters?
Because it's important. It's saving an animal's life. It doesn't matter that animals, that people need help. It doesn't matter, and nothing else matters other than the fact that you are helping save animals' lives. You are helping save a life.
What is the most important thing you can do to help a shelter or rescue?
Volunteer, most likely, but donating any amount of money is just as helpful. It helps them get their work done.
How do you think this documentary we are filming will help shelters and rescues?
It'll help whoever sees it feel more inclined to go donate and to go volunteer. If you see this, the first thing that should be on your mind is, I should probably go help a shelter.
Now, finally, how do pet owners prevent their pets from ending up in shelters?
A lot of time, a lot of care. Honestly, any pet owner that feeds their animal 2 times a day and provides them with enough attention is succeeding. And if you keep them sheltered, and if you keep them indoors when the weather is bad, if you walk them, if you don't have a backyard, if you give them the exercise they need, you're succeeding as a pet owner.
Okay, very nice talking with you.
You as well.
Mr. Chapelier.